Hey, what's happening everybody? Welcome back. Electrified Rider here. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to dial in the suspension system on the ET Max. This is a brand new shock suspension system put out by Begode, and it's actually a hybrid. It has both a coil and an air chamber. And unfortunately there were no instructions that came with the wheel. So for myself it took a lot of experimentation in order to get things dialed in to where it felt its absolute best. So I'm hoping to help you streamline the process with today's video. So let's quickly go over the different components of this shock. On the back here we have a dampening and a rebound setting. And what's nice about these dials is that no tools are required. You can easily access them from the back of the wheel just with your fingers. And here we've obviously got the air valve for this little air chamber here, and it's a small chamber. So this would obviously be where you add in the air or release any air from the chamber. And then if we head over to the other side of the wheel, looking in through the front, you can see at the bottom of the coil we have this tension ring or tension nut that's adjustable, which is used to control the preload or the overall compression of the coil. So just a few items that you're going to need in order to complete the setup. Now if you've got an EUC stand, great. But I do highly recommend picking up one of these Black & Decker Workmate 225 workbenches. Being able to get the wheel nice and stable on a higher platform makes it a lot easier to work on your EUC, a lot more ergonomic. You're also going to need an air pump. Now a standard bicycle pump will work just fine for adding air into that little air chamber, as you don't need a really high PSI. We'll be talking more about that in a moment. But if you're able, I do recommend that you pick up an air shock specific air pump like the one I've got here. It just makes it so much easier to dial in precisely the amount of air pressure that you want in the air chamber. And also this mechanism here makes it so that when you're taking your connection off of the air valve, you don't lose any air pressure. These are designed specifically for air shocks, mainly for mountain bike air forks. This one's not that expensive. I'll leave links both to the pump and the workbench in the description box connected to this video if you're interested. And lastly, you're going to need this tool here, which comes in the box with the ET Max, and that's used to dial in the tension ring on the coil. One word of caution, if you are going to use a workbench like this, is it can be a challenge getting some of these heavier wheels up onto the workbench. So I do highly recommend a team lift situation so that you don't hurt yourself. So this workbench here has two different levers that can be turned to open up a gap in between the clamp on the top of the workbench. So I'm going to open this up just wide enough to fit the tire of the EUC that I'm working on. And then the body or the chassis of the wheel is going to sit right on top of the clamps here. And get it up onto the bench. And as you can see, it sits up there real nice. It's very sturdy. And now it's much easier to access the different components for dialing in the shock or doing any other work on your EUC. All right, so I threw on my headlamp just to get some more light in the wheel while I explain what I'm doing here. So this tension ring here has these series of holes that you can fit the tool in order to turn it left or right. Now you don't have a whole lot of area to work in here, but it actually is not that difficult to do. And right down at the base of this tension ring, you'll see the remaining threads that I have left from the way I've dialed in my system. There's only about 4 threads remaining. When this wheel first arrived, the threads were actually up to about here. There was probably 10, 12 threads, I can't remember exactly. But I backed this ring off tremendously in order to release some of that compression, that pressure on the coil. So the way I got this dialed in to my liking is I would turn that tension ring counterclockwise, backing it off, releasing some of that pressure from the coil. Then I'd get up on the wheel and pogo up and down just to see how it felt. Now I'm a heavier rider at 250 pounds currently, and I backed it off quite a bit. So I'm assuming for most people, that's going to be the same for you. The lighter of a rider you are, the more likely you're going to want to back that off quite a bit. This is a 1,300 pound coil. Now apparently they are going to be offering a 900 pound coil as well in future deliveries, so that might be something you want to consider if you are a lighter rider. For me, I'm glad to have the 1,300 pound coil. This is a sporty wheel, and with that comes a bit more stiffness. So if you're looking for a real cushy ride, I don't think this is the wheel for you. But if you're looking for something fast, powerful, and more sports car like, the ET Max really shines through in that category. Now with the tool inserted here, and it's kind of hard to show you without my hand getting in the way, but you can turn it. Move over to the next hole. Continue to turn it. And that's how you go about dialing in the tension ring here. And if you don't have a workbench like this, it can be a lot easier to lean the wheel backwards, ground level, so that you can have better access. And just be patient with this process. It really only takes a few minutes to get this backed off to where you feel most comfortable. And the next thing you're going to want to do is dial in the pressure in this air chamber. Now, had I known what I know now, I would have measured what pressure was in here from the gate. I'm not sure how it came in the box. Just even a slight tap on the release valve here is going to release pretty much all the air in the chamber. It's such a small chamber. But with an air shock pump like this, it's very easy to screw it on. And you may have heard I did lose some air pressure actually putting this on. So I'm going to have to get this pumped back up to specs. So initially I brought this up to 160 psi, and I found that was too much air. I kept backing it off, 140, 120, all the way down to 100 pounds. That felt like the right amount of pressure for this air chamber. So that's what I'm going to bring it back up to right now. It's very easy to pump this guy up. Smooth operation. And I can get that dialed in precisely to 100 pounds. And this is where this pump really shines through. To take it off, you're just going to unscrew this back portion. And what that does is release the air that's in the hose here. Now you can take the connection off without losing any of that air pressure that we just pumped into the chamber. So that's now dialed in at 100 psi. That's what I found works best for this system. Now the blue knob is going to be your dampening and your red, the rebound. So what I recommend you do for this step is completely back these all the way off, either way, but counterclockwise is going to bring it to 0. And then from there, focus on just one setting at a time. Give these a full turn. Or 2, and then once again get up on the wheel, pogo around a little bit, see how it feels, and do the same on the other setting here. I'm going to bring this back to where it was, as I had things dialed in nicely. Now if I remember correctly, and I don't want to completely reset this because I got it dialed in just how I like it, but I believe what it ended up being is about 5 or 6 full turns on both of these different settings. And again, that's going to be slightly different for every single rider depending on your weight and the ride feel that you're looking for. But once you got everything dialed in like this and feeling pretty good, just pogoing up and down on the wheel, you want to take it out for a spin and see how things feel. Then you can make some more fine-tuned adjustments if you need to on the dampening and the rebound. You shouldn't have to mess with the air pressure in the air chamber here at all. But you may also make some more slight adjustments to the tensioning ring on the coil as well. Now after you've done all that, and I do recommend doing it in the order in which I'm sharing with you on this video, after that you're going to want to take a closer look at the air pressure in your tire. That can really change the overall feel of your entire ride. And once again, this is going to be specific to each rider, what they're looking for in their wheel, the type of riding they're going to do. So I'm just going to share with you what I ended up finding was my ideal pressure for my tire. So initially I had brought the tire up to 32 pounds PSI. At that pressure, the ride felt very stiff, and when getting up to speed, I did experience an easier onset of wobbles. Although controllable, I found that by lowering down the PSI, not only did it negate most of the wobbles on the wheel, but it gave a much softer feel and ride experience. So I ended up bringing the pressure down in my tire all the way down to 25 PSI. So I was at 32, I tried 31, 30, 29, 28, so on and so forth. When I got this thing down to 25 PSI, the whole ride feel felt perfect for me. Just be aware that when you do reduce the air pressure in your EUC tires, regardless of the model, there's a higher likelihood that you could create wheel or rim damage, especially if you're taking any type of jumps or stairs, in which case you're probably going to want to go with a higher PSI. I've actually taken this off plenty of curbs at that 25 PSI level with no issues, but that's just my experience, and this is what I found works best for me. And that's it, guys. That's all I did to dial in the suspension system on the ET Max. As always, I'm open to your comments and feedback. If you've got this wheel yourself, feel free to share the settings that are ideal for you in the comment section. Or if you have any further knowledge on this suspension system and there was anything that I may have gotten wrong in my explanation, I'd love to hear that as well. Just shoot a comment down below. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful for you. I know a lot of folks are soon going to be getting their ET Max if you had one on order. So congratulations. I find this to be a fantastic wheel. It's a whole lot of fun. This wheel packs a punch, lots of power, and as I mentioned before, the higher voltage in that power to me equates to a higher safety margin, as there's a less likelihood that you'll be pushing this wheel towards the threshold of what it's capable of doing, although that's still very possible. For myself, I like having that safety margin. And so with that, if you found this video helpful or entertaining in any way, sure would appreciate if you smash the like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. New uploads coming every week, and I'm always changing up the content, trying to bring you value as I do value your time. So thanks for being here. Until next time, this is Electrified Rider. See you again soon.